Whoa, come on now. Fade to black. Matt, mistrade. Matt Davio, HFR from the floor. Robert Heffernan. Market Vitals, the stream, marketvitals.io, the website. It's a Tuesday. And, man, I got to tell you, I suffered a 2-day hangover. I'm not in my college prime anymore, no matter what I tell you. And with that, let's shake it up here because we got a new graphic out. And, you know, I'm a little bit skeptical of the bracket right away just because Western Michigan University, the Broncos, notoriously one of the great party schools of all time, is not on the list. So maybe they didn't get the MAC involved. I don't know why they wouldn't have.
Yeah, the MAC would be on the bottom right too. The MAC would be on the bottom right.
Exactly. You know, we've had some success in football here and there, but you know. How does this jump out?
Within your division, a few schools win a few games? What?
Wait a second. The top right, just completely consuming the nation of party going. Auburn, LSU, Alabama, Clemson, and Georgia.
Oregon showing up there.
You know, Oregon trying to sneak in there, but talk about conference superiority. Unbelievable.
You see my blue in the left quadrant, lest and best. So it's hard school.
Too many people with their nose in a book instead of in a bottle.
And it's interesting that Stanford's up there in the left. And screw Ohio State. They're not a good academic school. Well, how can they? They're not.
It's athletic and it's partying. It has nothing to do with academics. You're reading the graphic wrong.
I am reading it wrong.
Anyway, Matt, as colleges for sure seem to be coming back to campus this fall, you would think that there's some pent-up demand for partying at the college level. So why don't we look at Boston Beer Company, Matt, and their high-octane money.
We're going to step into it lightly here, Bob. We're going to start with the classic Coors Molson or Molson Coors now. And, you know, I started with the daily chart going back to 2017, just to see that, to your point, we bottomed, you know, there in October of this year when the fall didn't. It's interesting. Like, this is an interesting topic because we didn't really go. Nobody went back to school in the fall yet. You know, the beer stocks bottomed there in October. Not, you know, they actually fell from March of 20 and went to, you know, continued. Different than any of the other stocks that we've been looking at, right? Everything kind of bottomed in March. Well, this one did, but it actually went even lower come October. And then it's been rallying out of the hole from 32 to 61 or so. So that's interesting to me because, yeah, with school going back, maybe. But again, I think there's so much cannibalization between brewed products, right? From beer to, gin and tonics, vodka tonics, everything's in a can now. So it's a whole different world.
And seltzers,
I think that hurts the beer companies. And obviously they're all involved in the beverage side of things. But I find that interesting. And we'll have to continue looking at, Budweiser, on the other hand, kind of the same path. But again, these things have been much higher going back to 2015. So if you buy Bob's story that going back in the fall might lead to better things for the brewers, well, Anheuser and Coors seem to have found a bottom and going that way. On the other hand, Sam Adams kind of flipped the script. They don't do so much in the beer, but they sold all the Truly products. And that's why that thing went to 13, whatever. What was it here? 13,
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable. What a
parabolic, right? So here's the opposite story. They switched away from the beer that they weren't really selling beyond in Boston, I guess, because I don't buy that. It's really not good beer.
Guaranteed probably from a beer connoisseur.
It's horrible. It's horrible stuff. I mean, it's to me, it's like kind of like Coors, but kids like it. Kids like the Coors. So Sam Adams is pulled back considerably, 13.12. It's back, it's off 30%. Trying to hold on to this level at 1,000, which has been kind of the level here for the late part of the spring. So
Matt, I just saw it. I just saw somebody share the case of Kirkland hard seltzer from Costco, and they're getting $18 a 12 pack, right? For 19 bucks a 12 pack for Truly and for White Claw.
Right.
Costco's halved them, right? You get a 24 pack for the same price.
Nice.
Race to the bottom, as far as I'm concerned, in flavored water with alcohol.
So that's going to put pressure on, the Sam Adams of the world. And it's also, and then you look at Constellation Brands, and this is a, long-standing, also beverage consumer, company. And they're in alcoholic, non-alcoholic, they're in everything. And this thing, again, went from 104 up to 245, still paying a 1.3% dividend. Very bullish. But again, this thing starts crossing under 215. The story kind of changes. We're at 237 right now. I don't want to own it up here. It's just awfully thick valuations.
All right. So we're buying it. We're buying Bud and Coors and selling Sam and Consti.
Yeah, I think that kind of looks that way.
Bada bingo.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. Matt, I don't know, what rock was I under that I didn't know it was Prince's birthday yesterday?
It's also my father's birthday yesterday, and they're both
happy birthday to your father in heaven.
And to Prince in heaven.
And to Prince in heaven too. Serenade, the best guitarist ever born, according to Eric Clapton.
Yeah,
which is
I would not disagree.
High praise.
I would not disagree.
And if you want to turn that party up, listen, college kids, coming this fall, forget about all the rap and the hip hop. Just put on a Prince album and turn it to 11, and you're going to turn that party upside down.
And whether you're a female or a male, you will enjoy Prince. There's always.
All right, Matt, congratulations to the Canadians need something. They've been so oppressed. Are the oppressors up north, the northern oppressors, the Habs heading to the semifinal. I mean, for an oppressed country, it's almost like Iran in Canada. They're that oppressed.
Right.
And they really need this. They need the Habs to pass all their COVID protocol and tests and bring the cup north. I'm actually hoping for that storyline. Maybe
crazy.
then,
right now it's pretty crazy because they were down 3-1 against the hapless Toronto Maple Leafs, and Toronto continued to lose 3 in a row to the Habs. And then Winnipeg, who swept Edmonton 4-0. So you figure, this is going to be a heck of a matchup. Well, they come in and just fucking lay a goose egg after that. It was after that hit, though. I got to say, it was after that hit in game 1, right? That you had that big hit.
Right.
And that just took the sails out of the Winnipeg team. I mean, it's funny how that can happen to a team, and then the other team just took that and ran and just destroyed them. And it wasn't even a series. I mean,
you're telling me that the shame of that hit,
I think so,
brought the energy level of that team all the way down.
Well, that and the fact that you haven't had fans up in Canada until recently, and there's only a few. I think those two things combined definitely took the air out of the sail for the Winnipeg Jets.
Man, let's jump over here.
Honestly, who wants the Winnipeg Jets in the Final Four? So
let me share. I'm not my Twitter game not nearly as strong as yours, but I just want to point out this interaction. I had 10 retweets and 59 likes. I'm a little guy in the Twitter sphere, but I wanted to go to the. Come on, where's the actual tweet? I shared our here it is. From National Geographic. I am ashamed of my ancestors' race. Again, we talk about this like that shame, baby. Shame is it's just such a low energy thing. In fact, David Hawkins would tell you that it is the lowest of the low. And here it is. Their shame down there, resonating, energetic frequency of 20. That's humiliation and a view of life of miserable. I mean, National Geographic, You could do better than this. That's all I tweeted. Like you can do better than this. You may want to consider dwelling in shame as a very low energy.
And you also may want to take credit for the third pizza you ate on Saturday night.
The what?
The third pizza she ate on Saturday night.
Let's not body shame, man.
I'm not body shaming. I'm just saying.
It possibly could have been.
That's what made her feel this way about something that has nothing to do with the third.
I mean, I only brought this up because I think there is a bit of a shaming thing that happened in that. I mean, it was shameful what happened in that hockey game, and it took the energy completely out of that team. They weren't able to recover from it.
That's why I brought it up.
My point is, how about you move up to some higher levels of energy? In fact, you don't even get to a positive energy. Pride, Matt, by the way, is a 7 deadly sin. It's actually still low energy. It's a hell of a lot higher than shame. Maybe she should be proud of the fact that ancestrally we've moved away from slavery. I mean, that's and it's a much higher energy level than shame. And
do we really want to pay reparations to the Democrats who owned the slaves?
That's a full circle. Matt, I wanted to share this other thing too. We live fully in the age of ambiguity, and we're going to do some price discovery around the jab stocks because this was interesting to me. This actually came out May 30th. I saw this in another article yesterday. Indian Bar Association serves legal notice upon Dr. You pronounce it, a chief scientist of the WHO. And then the Epic Times also ran this yesterday. WHO chief scientist served legal notice in India for allegedly suppressing data on the drug treatment for COVID-19. And we all know what one it is because this came out today. The WHO celebrates as this same woman, an Indian health regulator, removes ivermectin from its COVID protocol. How do you remove it when it was by far the biggest? It's not a double-blind placebo study, but it was the biggest use case on the planet as they distributed this far and wide. And this was what happened to the curve when they did it, among other things, right? Among other things. But ivermectin, a giant part of this story. And now they remove it as part of the protocol, maybe because they still need a bunch of jabs to be delivered. I don't know. That's me just being... I mean, what you know how I get, man. I get cynical.
But India is a big market for Gates et al. Because it's $1 billion plus. It's $1.4 billion or so today. So it's a lot of jabs. So it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It's a lot. Money.
Why don't you share at least a couple of the jab charts? We'll see if
we were talking about Myrna last week and how it felt toppy and it sold off. In fact, from the 229.
We don't see it.
Okay. Excuse me. But anyways, Myrna did sell off from 229 down here to 213. And this is a daily chart again, going back to 2019 again, where nobody even considered the name and all the way up here to a new high. It just hit a new high here, Bob. So now on a shorter term chart, looks a little broken to me. And matter of fact, today is the day that it broke. So that's why we're talking about it. It's interesting because there was over 20 countries that openly were utilizing ivermectin successfully also. So, again, why do we need if current medicines that are safe on the market for multiple implications work, why do we need a jab? Why do we need, and that's kind of proven out too, I think with the 99.99% survival rate. So, and even today there was a lot of news again, talking about Fauci. Well, he said if it was down to 0.002 and 0.004, then it was just like the flu and none of this should have happened. I mean, he said that early on. So I think some of that's starting to come to fruition. The bribes, I keep reading that the bribes are working, but are they really? If they were, I think it's going to be difficult to pick the momentum. It's almost like that chart itself, Bob, that with the momentum broken and you're back on the parabola on the right side, it's very difficult to go back to old-time highs, at least not immediately, okay? It could play out over another 10 years or 2 years or whatever, but it's not going to play out in a short-term nature. That's the nature of parabolas. Once you trap all those people, they do have a decent short-term memory, at least for, the instance where they were involved, whether it's, GME, whether it's AMC, whether it's, getting a shot. And if this stuff isn't working, people are they're not, you see it on the streets. I mean, people aren't interested in taking it. They're not going to be forced into it. And I think the majority, regardless of what the media is trying to feed us, I still believe the majority have not taken the full dosage of shots. That's kind of what I see on the streets. So
right on, Matt. Let's talk about GME and AMC. And Matt, you have this at your trade desk. It's one of the great graphics I've ever seen. Because, the greed buy happens at the top, the fear sell happens at the bottom, rinse and repeat until you go broke. I don't have that exact thing, but I have a different thing on my desk, and it's a picture of Einstein and Chaplin. And for me, it's a yin and a yang thing also. Like, you can be smart. How smart are you? How funny are you? Where do those two things mix? How well of a negotiator of life are you, and what makes you successful in that path? Because there's still people, and we've seen the fallout in cryptos, right? And there's a lot of there's a whole lot to unpack there. But this GameStop and AMC continues to play out, and another huge pump today that's just being thoroughly rejected. And it's I used to say, when you'd get to a level and the whether it was a break or a rally, it's like Butkus in his prime filling that hole. All you young kids, you might not know who Butkus was, but when that A gap was filled, it was over. It was over. And I think the dynamic is changing. People understand that with 10 million Redditors, even if they're doing 10 shares a piece, it's still a pretty healthy number. And I think more of the don't bet needed to show up in the casino. And my opinion is that's what's happened. A bigger don't bet has showed up for the with money. There's no good craps table unless there's with money and against money. And I think that's what's being fought and brought out through price discovery today. You want to share either one of those?
Yeah, let me. GameStop seems to be the one in play today. AMC is just kind of dead. It's flat. I think it went up, made a new high, or at least a high over yesterday. It made a weekly high and then pulled back 10%, went from 60 back to 54, and that's about where it is. So we'll leave that alone for now. But this one's more interesting. This is a daily, again, on GameStop. And again, you got to remember, this was back here in January of 21. It was trading $32. Went from 32, Bob, to 540 or so. Maybe. Yeah, 540. And this isn't showing it because it was like a pre-market spike. So TradingView, I must not have it on the pre-market numbers, but it was something like 540, right? It was up here. Anyways, and then it pulled back. It pulled back all the way down to $45. It was $40. I think it even got into the 30s. And then it did another, to your point, did another 10x, right? But a lower high. And then we spent, basically, 3 months is lollygagging. And then we decided to wake it up again here towards the end of the quarter here in June. And we tagged that number again. I think we hit 344. Yeah, 344 and change today. And the high was 347. So to your point, there was a lot of offers up there, Bob, sitting there defending that line for now. Because if it went above that line, it's very likely it could go test that other high again. Also, to your point, and we'll see. But again, this makes absolutely no sense from a fundamental perspective. It's pure gaming of GameStop that continues to go on, whether it's 10 million Reddit bros. And I'll take the don't on that, because 10 shares is still $3,000. And you're telling me that 10 million people are playing.
No, I agree with you, but there is that.
Well, I'm just saying, maybe one share. And so that's 10 million shares. And we've traded, today we've traded 14 million already. So, which is a lot. Now, it's not AMC a lot. Sir Mix a lot. AMC, it traded 170 million. So to your point, do the math. 170 times 50 equals what? And then, take 300 and divide it by 13. More money is still being traded in AMC by far than GME. Right. And the thing, and I'm going to go back to, because I meant to bring this up with GME, but the thing that is continuing to happen here is less and less volume on GME. Look at this volume, Bob. Okay, we're like 10x volume from the January February blow off to where we are. We're lower. We're a fifth, 20% of where we were the last time we touched here. So again, you basically, the sellers are going, fine, I'll sell it up at these levels. I'll offer everything at 340 and I'll just put a wall there. That's what they're doing right now because there's no volume. And that's why it spiked up there really hard and just sold off so fast today. And if you look at the day action, you can see the mechanics and work. I mean, it's perfect. They jam it up here, jam it, and then poof. I mean, look at that thing. And these were the highest volumes up in here as it went up in here. So this is all the sells. These people were selling. These were stops being run on the day trade short side. So I'll take the opposite of what you're saying, which is all the day traders, all the little 10 share guys were selling at the open, and they got ragged and tagged up to 344 until they puked. They bought, and then the big boys took it down. So it's actually opposite of what's happening. The dumb money is now timing wise on the wrong side. I'd say the Reddit boys were shorting that open, and now they're trying to turn the table, and then they get screwed. They get pinched out, and now the big boys come in and take it out with the volume. So that's what I see.
All right, Matt, we're gonna jump over to the crypto sphere. We got a little segment, and we call it "Whoa."
Hey, you got the sound back.
I hired a new production manager to come into the studio, and he's got his head on his shoulders, a little bit better. Matt, two things out of the crypto sphere. First, let me just start off. Well, I saw this, and I got to tell you, I think I welled up a little bit. I had a tear in my eye. Back in the day, Matt, I'm going to take myself out of here. Back in the day, I sat there on phone arbitrage between Chase Manhattan and the Chicago floor in the Deutschmark pit. And my added value was not only to give the play-by-play of the market, who was in buying, who was selling, but I also kept a point and figure chart by hand as I did that, so I could at least impart some sort of technical knowledge to the trade. And when I saw this, I'm like, God damn it, there's still people doing this because it helps them identify risk and reward and potential. One of the oldest forms of charting known to man, point and figure charting.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously,
I'll tell you, before I was a point and figure guy before I got to market profile. Market profile to me was just a little bit more complete. But I think the reason why people like the point and figures is it's got a timing component, kind of the timing wheel on it also, which market profile order flow on its own doesn't necessarily have that. You kind of have to build that on another level and using some different tools. But this, I still think point and figure, to your point, Bob, is a very valid tool, and I like it visually. I like the way it looks. I can see where major support, resistance, ceilings.
And you're right, Matt, the ambiguity drink and the nuance drink about that is there's no time value in this, but so it could sit there for hours and days and weeks until it makes that price discovery.
Yep.
That is either taking out a trend line or taking out old lows or old highs. You're right. All of a sudden that becomes, all right, now I need to act because the price discovery actually happened. Right. I'm not early. I'm not late. I'm right with it. And this is of Grayscale Trust. And obviously the line is there because the thought process is if they take out that, and how about this for sure lines up with the profile. It's got to be near where that whole time price action, low of value, low of that congestion has to be in that same area. Anyway, yeah. I loved it, man. I loved it.
Well, let's take a look at it. It's exactly there, Bob, where, this was the line right in here, right around $31. And when it breaks through there, it's going to go whoosh down here to 15, 16. So that's where we are. First stop will be 23. And then, which is just like Bitcoin. I'm sure it just mirrors, the same levels that we're talking about, 19 or 9 on Bitcoin. So yeah, it's very powerful. And again, this is why for me, This was the area that you had right here in your profile. It was basically this chunk right here from the end of the year to now. So with the takeoff, and then, you can see it, how tightly it traded. And then once it found that new price discovery, then it had to chop around, and now it's reverse course again, the right side of the parabola. We're seeing this over and over again. Isn't it interesting that you still have indices that are on the left side of the parabola, yet the majority of stocks, I would say, now are not so much peaking and going to new highs and having only left side plays anymore. So,
right on. All right, Matt, this is the other thing that I wanted to bring up. And you don't even need to be able to read the chart, because it says nearly every crypto asset has been getting crushed in Ether terms over the past quarter. And that implies that Ether's a better place to be than the rest of the alts. And I responded, including Ether, or am I missing something?
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's the best of the shit. That's great. But why are you holding the shit?
Right.
It's the very best of the shit. Why are you still holding the shit bag? Because we've pointed this out for weeks now, that this correction was developing, and it's here now. And so Ray, great job on holding shit to the bottom. And here's the nuance, Drink. It's not hard to get out of it. It's not hard to go to safety. It's not hard to hedge. Why even show me this chart? Why not you show, you know what? I got out of my Ether too, because they're all shit. Anyway, I don't know. I just wanted to bring it up.
It's a painful lesson. To the right side of the parabola is a painful lesson, and it's the only way that people learn, and we're just getting into it. So to your point, we're halfway on the right side of all the alt pet rocks, Bob. So it's just, that's why I just sit back here and go, I've seen this play out in 100 different assets, from lumber to oil to beans to corn to GME to AMC to Apple. Well, Apple keeps going. But you get my point.
They're like the Colonel. They have an
Krispy Kreme, but you get my point. The trendy stocks that shit. We were doing this before we got on here. I could show you 10 fuel cell companies that all went to the moon January, and they're all reversed course completely back to where they were last fall. So they're great moment. The way markets work, they're great times for liquidation. They're great times for insiders to sell. And that's what happens, when these, trust me, when these things go up, these guys they're selling. I mean, they're dumb if they're not. That's why they work for the company, for the free stock. And then when it jumps, they're selling it because they know it doesn't make any sense. I mean, for God's sake, use your brain, common sense.
Absolutely. And now Bitcoin on the daily for me, Matt, let me just share that quickly, because it's pretty clear on this it looks to be a continuation lower that we want to expose. And what I mean by that is we had this good congestion here, enough so that we actually, had these bands going up. We actually toyed with up momentum back there. But the next day, that was the Elon tweet. The next day, believe me, I guarantee you he had his orders in.
Yeah.
And got, some protection. And now we got falling away potentiality again on the daily. Is this double bottom going to hold? Well, Grayscale's point and figure certainly didn't. And so there's
29
a lot more room to the downside.
I want to see a real test of 29, not a close to it, right? So I think that first test was interesting, but we got the two back here in January, February too. So this isn't the first time we've been here. This is really the fourth time. And I think this time we go through and people are going to be, a few of them have their orders in there, but what's going to happen is they're going to rush those. They're going to push those out, and they're going to force them to play their cards. In other words, they're going to ask you to flip them, because are you really wanting to buy at 27 now and at 25 and 23 and 21 and 19 before it stops? Because that's what's going to happen.
Especially, you have to if you bought 45, 50, 60, and 65. You have to.
Well, Michael Saylor will definitely.
That's the rule, man.
Michael Saylor will issue more bonds and try to buy another.
Wait a second, Michael Saylor. He just upped it from 400 million to 500 million.
Perfect.
Anyway, let me just point out the nuanced drink.
Hey, wait, hold on. Before you leave Michael Saylor, if you're interested in buying bonds in a company that has never performed riddle me this, Batman. Why? Why don't you just go buy Bitcoin at 32,000 today on your own? If you have 500 million,
Right? Why do you need the middleman?
Why do you need to be in a software company that doesn't do anything? They've never done.
Dad, I saw a great picture of him with his McDonald's hat on, and the caption was, "He's done this cycle before."
Right.
And we pointed that out last year with MicroStrategies and the .com bubble. Anyway, let me just point out this on the weekly. Again, the same dynamic. Falling away potentiality here, not able to maintain any kind of price action up. They couldn't even sniff out the momentum level. They did a better job the last 2 weeks of trying to sniff out that lower momentum level. They didn't even get close this week to it.
Right.
No attempt at all. There's a lot of time left, obviously, in the week. But, my money, thinks that double bottom, since it's not running into a collar, is not a great double bottom to buy.
Well, and again, it's a quad bottom. It's the fourth time.
I agree. I agree
Maybe
100%.
Maybe fifth.
Now you take that area out. Now you've trapped, 2 years worth of buying.
No, not 2 years, but you've trapped
a year.
You've trapped half a year.
Everybody
from January.
Everybody that bought January 4th.
Yep.
That's just everybody this year will be trapped.
Everybody for the
entire year. Will be
and when the year low goes, as you know, in most things that trade, it's not a good sign. It's not a good sign.
Anyway, patience, young Jedi. If you're able to short, there's just it's back to the sound of music, Matt, and sell every rally.
Bob, don't go chasing waterfalls.
Hey,
stick to the rivers and lakes.
Sound of music.
Stick to the rivers and lakes that you're used to.
That's what I'm seeing. I think there's a little bit more to go. And believe me, I'm going to be ready, willing, and able with bullets to participate in this asset class on a full schmeezing, Matt, a full schmeezing. They will get my shekels back into the market.
Yeah, well, 10,000 is much more attractive than 32.
How about it?
Yeah.
All right, Matt. One last thing. And I didn't see it. Two things. Wait a second. Did you see? Hold on. Please tell me you saw the gymnast from the USA, Simone.
I didn't watch it. No.
Man, this vault was one of the most incredible things I have ever seen. Hold on. Stick with me. Nobody leaves. All right, hold on. Nobody leaves. There we go. Let's go full screen. Whoa. Hold on.
The pause at the top was unbelievable.
Impossible. Impossible.
So she's in the Matrix too, because she paused at the top perfectly. Thanks.
2 flips, 3 twists. Give me a break. And not only that, she's so high.
I think she did this when she was up there too.
They had to put an additional pad down.
I think she did one of these and you missed it. She blew a kiss.
They had to put an additional pad down because she's coming down from the 3rd story. Hats off. The hats off to that athleticism. Unreal.
Are you serious? They say she was 3 stories high in the jump.
No, come on, Matt. You know me long enough to know that 98% of the shit that comes out of my mouth is bullshit. Oh, shame on you. Speaking of shame on you for believing a word out of my mouth. All right, come on. We're going to bring the level up away from shame, baby. Gratitude.
Hey, Bob, it's a nice wet day here in Bend, Oregon. It's spring still. And we had summer last week in 98. Now we're back to 51. I love it. And I'm joyous that the plants are being watered and they're dampening the forest so we don't have fires at least until late July. Right on, man. Yeah, we got a lot of weather out there. A lot of weather. You know what they say about living in the mountains? The seasons are early winter, late winter, and next winter. Yeah, and as Crowded House so succinctly wrote and sang, 4 seasons in one day.
Yes, 100%. All right, please share and retweet the broadcast. We'd be incredibly grateful if you would did that. I'm going to work on my Evelyn Woods sped speaking here soon. Please share it though. Share it far and wide. And we are still looking for that key sponsor. So if we are the kind of mojo that you want to associate with, reach out. Let's talk. All right, Matt. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bobby. Have a good one.